Five Nights at Freddy's is the brand new movie adaptation of the indie horror game of the same name by Scott Cawthon, directed by Emma Tammy, and stars Josh Hutcherson as Mike Schmidt, a man who has just recently been fired from his job and is looking for a new one to support a life with him and his sister, and he decides to take a pretty basic security job at a rundown pizzeria from the 80s known as Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, which is very much like Chuck E. Cheese's, is a family entertainment center. So all he has to do is watch over the place at night, make sure no one breaks in. But what he soon finds out is that all of the animatronics that are well known at this place come to life and throughout the movie attempt to kill him and other people. As the movie goes on, of course, Mike and other characters slowly figure out just why the animatronics are alive and trying to kill people, and how it might tie to Mike's past. Of course, this was a very mostly anticipated movie by most, at least fans of the game, and also a very, let's say, interesting thing for most others, including critics. This movie seems to be already being torn apart by critics, according to the IMDb, according to the Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic scores, which is a little surprising, I will say, because I actually like the movie. It has problems that we'll get into in a moment, but for the most part, it does its job well, adapting the game. Everything's pretty much very close to the general concept and design of the games. It's mostly adapting the first and third games. Does it pretty well. The animatronics themselves are actual animatronics designed by Jim Henson Studios, which is very cool, and I'm happy they did that instead of CGIing the animatronics outside of the cupcake, which it makes sense for the most part. The overall design of the pizzeria and the animatronics is good. Like I said, very close to the game, especially the animatronics themselves, almost one-to-one to the game. And, I mean, the pizzeria has its, liberties taken, but that's fine, obviously. The soundtrack is decent, having its own original score a little bit, some of it being almost like a children choir, which fits with the theme of the movie with children. And then there's some 80s songs that pop up in the pizzeria when the animatronics are, turned on and not simply alive the rest of the time, which, makes sense. It is a old 80s pizzeria. The acting is actually good for the most part. Josh Hutcherson surprised me a little bit as Mike. He's not too dull or boring like I thought he probably would be. There's some depth to him, and almost got me a little emotional for moments when he's just talking about his life and everything that's going on right at the moment with his sister and a possible custody battle as his aunt is trying to take away his sister. The aunt is definitely where you could either love or hate the acting for her, because she is very much like a cliche evil character in a 90s comedy, like trying to take away a family member and being all smug about it. It does kind of remind me of something from Mrs. Doubtfire, but I think it worked a little bit, because obviously there is definitely a point where you can go too silly, but I think this is a movie about animatronic Chuck E. Cheese style mascots that come to life, that are haunted by ghosts. I think that concept's already crazy enough that stuff like this doesn't really bother me. But there's like some little moments that I didn't like. The pacing did like spike down a little bit, or I don't know if spike's the right word. It went down a little bit at points, like in the middle. But they tried their best to get the story moving forward and do what they needed to advance some plot elements. But that's fine. Some of the other actors are good. The kid actor for Abby is decent. Mike's sister, Elizabeth Lale as Vanessa, the police officer who checks in with Mike, is decent. Matthew Lillard, of course, is in the movie, as many people have known before the trailer was even released, or much of it was talked about, as well, if you've seen the movie, you'll already know what his real name is, and fans of the game probably already know who he's probably playing. So that's all I'll say. Matthew Lillard, of course, is a great actor from Scream and Scooby-Doo. So he definitely added some good punch to the movie, I will say. Writing is decent. Again, obviously the pacing isn't always the best, and that can definitely be attributed to the writing, but it's decent. There are free writers, which isn't the best combination, though Scott Cawthon is credited, which could just mean that he gave a little advice and he was credited. So technically it could just be two, which isn't terrible, but sometimes one person is what you need to make a tight script. But oh well. Overall, this movie's pretty good. Not a masterpiece by any means, but for what the concept is, I liked it. Then there's some extra little stuff for the fans, not just Easter eggs. Well, actually, still kind of Easter eggs. There's cameos from a couple of YouTubers who were made famous through Five Nights at Freddy's. Matt Pat and Corey Kenshin, who play small cameos, which was kind of fun. Matt Pat's was a little on the nose, but it was harmless. Unfortunately, Markiplier couldn't be in it due to scheduling conflict with his movie, but it's alright. At least he wanted to do it, and they probably wanted him to do it too. Oh well. And then finally, the famous Five Nights at Freddy's theme song by the Living Tombstone plays in the end credits. Initially, of course, it was a fan-made theme song, but has become the Five Nights at Freddy's theme, alongside the little jingle that plays when you die at the end of the game. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I'd recommend it for the most part. It's on Peacock at the same time, so you could definitely watch it there if you have it without spending your money. But if you're fine with it and don't care what the critics think, then go watch it. I think they're a little harsh, but maybe they do have some good points that I'm not thinking about. I'm gonna give Five Nights at Freddy's a 7 out of 10. Pretty decent. I hope you enjoyed this movie review for Five Nights at Freddy's. Let me know what you thought of the movie, and check out some of my other stuff on the channel. I mostly do Let's Plays and reviews. I tried to keep the schedule but stuff can get busy, so be patient if you actually like my stuff. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Take care and have a happy Halloween.